Hi, Robert Rodarte, Orange County Public Works. So the testing sites, like Amanda mentioned, further downstream, we go pretty much right up the PCH bridge. The testing that we do upstream of that is, to be honest, it's not that far upstream. We try to capture the most representative point of the LP area. So that is essentially where the confluence of, there's a drainage channel, it's called LOSO2, where that combines with the main flow of San Juan Creek.
Okay, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Hold on 1 second. Let's finish his question first. Does that answer your
It
question?
does, but I'm still confused on how accurate is this testing if it's done in a river when the minute you do the spray or whatnot, it's gone within an hour. So how accurate is that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. We don't
That's
set the policy.
represented during the event sample. So we do a pre-sample before application, we do a sample while the application is occurring, and then we do a sample a week.
Your own documents show that you tested 5 days after you started.
Okay, on this one particular
That's a
day-
big deal.
I know, I understand it.
It's a
but
primary document.
But we applied on the day that we sampled as well.
No,
So
not according to the
oftentimes,
papers, no.
Brian, can you confirm that it will be several days worth of spraying?
Yes, I believe you have one work order, right, that you're referencing?
I'm sorry?
You're referencing the one work order that we provided, right?
Was it-
It is the spraying that you did on 7/9 and 7/10.
Okay.
Your testing.
Of 2025.
Of 2025. Your testing was performed on 7/14. That's your own documents.
We can provide aquatic logs now for 2025. So that will document each day that it's actually sprayed.
Okay, I am going off your own work order that says the hours and days that you sprayed.
Okay,
It
this is
said
something we
you
can't
sprayed 7, 9,
answer
7.
here tonight. We will get you the answer, we will grant the answer because this is,
But
this and.
this is the whole reason we're here.
I know, but
because there's a lot of
but
black.
we're not spraying in there anymore.
But it doesn't matter whether you're spraying or not, it's what happens above. It doesn't make sense. Why are we putting all this effort into it where you guys are only worrying about one little zone and then there's still stuff going?
Because I don't represent Huntington Beach.
Right.
I can only cover the area I represent. And this is a critical area that I represent, and so that's why I'm putting all this energy into it. I don't represent Huntington Beach. I don't represent York Linda. I don't represent the areas that are in other districts. So I can't speak to those areas.
I'm not talking, I never even said anything about that. I'm just talking about.
Well, that's what's upstream.
You go this and that. I mean, past cats, it just seems like there's a lot of misinformation and there's not enough information. And it's so easy for you guys to say, hey, we'll answer this later. When down the line, we'll be sending emails and we'll never get it.
No, that's not true. The reason why I'm saying we have to answer this later is because we don't have an answer for you right now. And so I want to be able to take the time to give a real answer. And I've done this in the past at town halls. My record is that I do answer the question, okay? Multiple times. I'll give you the Boaters Association as an example. They ask many, many layers of question. We give an answer, they'd ask a follow-up question. We got an answer, they ask a follow-up question. I don't know these answers. I have to go research it and find the answers. And so that is what I pledge to do here. We're not going to just blow you off. That is not good governance. And I have, like I shared before, I have them print every single email, every single response, so that I can read through this myself personally to determine whether or not the answers were what I consider bureaucratic or they were actually real, authentic answers. And like I like yes or no, kind of easy. So that's all I can do at this moment in time at, what time it is? 9:15.
OC Parks staff has asked us to start wrapping up, so we have 1, 2.
We have no, she's
No,
next. She's
and
next.
but we're ending with our future supervisor.
Fair
Well,
enough.
my question is kind of in tandem with Ms. Jones. So am I correct in understanding that there is not any entity currently
testing the water between the PCH bridge and the berm. That's just a complete unknown.
Correct, and
Okay,
it's
so
only
Supervisor Foley,
being
my
tested
question is-
for, it's only being tested for bacteria right now.
Right, so there's no testing in terms of toxins and anything. So obviously, if we're testing in moving water, we're testing in rivers, we're testing in streams, which it is a river, it's a creek. It's not a flood channel, it's not a freaking concrete, like, channel, it's also like a living creek, or it used to be. So if we're testing areas that are constantly moving, and yet we're not spraying anymore in this area, but there could be pesticides being sprayed in areas upstream, why is no one testing where it's accumulating and aggregating? Because that berm is intact many, many days throughout the year. So what I'm hearing you say is like, oh, we're not testing the water in the ocean, like it's obviously gonna be so low parts per million, it's not even detectable, and you're saying, oh, we're not spraying in the ocean, but you're really dismissing the key area where most of us come into physical contact with these toxins. So when
I
that
asked-
breaches,
I-
after
hold on
a
a second.
repeated, extended period of time where it's not been breached, those parts per million could be well beyond anything that we're hearing today, and the interaction with the public in that water should be something that's hugely concerning.
Understand.
Supervisor
I asked this question today. I actually asked this very question.
Well, fantastic, but as supervisor, you should have been asking it 2 years ago when you started putting this climate impacts thing into.
We've been asking these questions, and you wanna know what the answer is?
I'd love to.
The answer is, and I will ask them to go and test it, but the answer is that by the time you get to the ocean is massive, and it takes everything and it dilutes it, but we will test it. We will test it.
You test the water that's aggregating between PCH and the berm. That is what is
I'm
She's
sorry,
asking where the mouth of
Oh, where the mouth
where the
is,
mouth
yeah.
enters
Okay.
into the ocean.
We can test that.
Yeah, yes, there is.
I would want to know, because that's what we're interacting. When that breaches, that's the water that's polluting our ocean system. Not these like little samples that are being taken and,
Well, the law requires us to test in these other
Right, I'm
areas.
asking you as a.
Yes, that's fine. We can test it. Let's just test it. Why not? I don't see any reason not to.
Excellent, thank you.
My statement is more of a comment than a question. I've become abreast of what's going on with the Creek team about a month ago, and I've been a resident of both San Juan, Capistrano, and Dana Point. I used to run alongside the creek. My wife and I used to be at Baby Beach. We used to paddleboard. And I think the heart of what I'm hearing tonight is there's this sense that the answers are not being addressed in a way that it feels as though we're proactively taking steps that we're on the same page about. And I hope going forward that in some capacity, much of what's being said is addressed more than just in the words that we're sharing. There's an actual system or process that we can follow up with and feel as though. I don't want to be honest with you, I don't want to, if someone asks me, should I go to Baby Beach, I don't want to have to pause and think about that. I want them to feel confident that we should go to Dana Point and have a great time. And I have to think and pause based on everything I heard tonight.
Well, today you can go to Baby Beach because it's not on the recreational water quality caution zone, but I'm grateful to donate.
As a layman, I'm just sharing with you
Right.
what I think I'm.
So we're gonna create a landing page, but please do sign up for our newsletter. We give recreational water quality. We send out notifications that we get from public health. We try to post it on our Facebook page to warn the community, don't go in the water in these areas at this time. And, we'll do better. We'll do better to communicate better. We'll do better to get the information out to you. That's all I can pledge. We'll do better. Okay.
Hi everyone, so if you don't know me, I'm Kehlani, otherwise known as H-Trophy.
I know you.
You know me, I know you. I'm in the 8th grade, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for putting this whole thing together. The information is very helpful, and I just appreciate your guys' hard work to protect our community so much. Secondly, I, along with many of my friends, volunteered down at the Dana Point advocacy estuary, and I wanted to know so my friends, like going forward in the future, so my friends and I could feel more comfortable and more safe, volunteering if we could test the soil and also the waters there, making sure that the runoff from just the watersheds and everything, the rains and the storms, isn't so terribly dangerous that we're going to get cancer, making sure it's safe for us. For going forward in the future. And also, I have this book recommendation for you guys, something It's called Silent Spring by Rachel Kleis, if you haven't heard of it. Also, anyone watching, y'all have to read it. It's so good.
About DDT.
Yeah, it's about, so it's kind of very similar to what this whole thing is about. Like how history is repeating itself. Not necessarily in a good way, but it's about this amazing marine biologist and scientist named Rachel Kleis. I actually got her in a science class last year, so it put on her. And she was fighting for her life along with the safety of our whole planet, doing research, and that inspired this book. So, highly recommend you guys read this.
You know, I
I like the thing with the quote that I wrote the other night. When nature is harmed, so is our food security and human health. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for being an environmental champion. And we're going to close it up because I'm getting the hook from our OC Parks. They need to go home also. And they have to clean up this room before they can do that. But I also want to refer you to the Pacific Marine Mammal Center website because they also have really good information. The Dr. Deming there, she's doing some amazing work that my office is helping to fund. And her work is on testing the sea lions and testing them for taking biopsies and things and testing them to see if they have cancer or any other kinds of diseases that they got in the water. And so that's really important work that she's doing that helps us to understand how it might affect humans as well. So thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your energy and your activism.